I want to talk about this next story because this next story is absolutely amazing. So, you guys all know Madison Cawthorn, right? Madison Cawthorn. He's the guy who said he was organizing another January 6th. He's a far-right member of the House. He's also the youngest member of the House. And he's gotten in trouble for making a lot of controversial statements. Apparently, all the other times, with organizing another January 6th or all the other things he said, didn't cross the line. Didn't cross the line at all. But now, Madison Cawthorn has finally crossed the line for many. House Republicans angry with junior member for claiming they're cool as hell. Now, to be clear, when they're saying they're cool as hell, what he's referring to is that Madison Cawthorn alleged that members of the House, especially Republicans, were having parties with tons of orgies and cocaine. Let me read that again. Orgies and cocaine. Can I just say, that would be the most based the Republican Party has been in a very long time. Still, hypocritical on both these parts, though. It should be more sex positive and should be pushing for the decriminalization of drugs. Anyway, every so often, Republican leader Kevin McCarthy says meaningfully that he will have a stern chat with one of his fellow Republican House members. What kind of offense prompts such a visit to the principal office? Since last year, the subject have included Jewish space lasers, violent anime videos that were tweeted, appearances at white nationalist political conferences, comparisons of COVID rules to the Holocaust, and jokes about Muslim members of Congress being potential suicide bombers. This week, McCarthy has a fresh case to add to his chat docket. Allegations from a freshman North Carolina Representative Madison Cawthorn that certain unnamed members of Congress are doing coke and going to orgies. The remark, which Cawthorn made on a podcast that week, have stirred up the QAnon wing of the party yet again, and Cawthorn's fellow Republicans are peeved that they're getting bugged about it. Can we listen to it? Okay, we can in a second. Staffers inside the Beltway will often say that the real DC is more Veep, the HBO satire of Washington incompetence, than House of Cards, the Netflix soap opera about calculating House leader turned president. I'd say the show that best captures the atmosphere overall is C-SPAN's Book TV. But Cawthorn, appearing on the Warrior Poet Society, I've covered this guy before, he's ridiculous, said House of Cards' depiction of DC as a hotbed of sleaze, sex, and drugs is totally accurate. The sexual perversion that goes on in Washington. I mean, being kind of a young guy in Washington, where the average age is probably 60 or 70. And I look at all these people, and a lot of them I've looked up to through my life. Then all of a sudden, you get invited to, oh, hey, we're going to have this kind of sexual get-together. Who calls it a sexual... Okay. I want to believe this is a true story, but I refuse to believe that a member of Congress called it a sexual get-together. At one of the homes, you should come. And I'm like, what did you just ask me to come to? And then you realize they're asking you to come to an orgy. Or, he continued, the fact there's some people that are leading the movement to try to remove addiction in our country, and then you watch them do key bump of cocaine in front of you. Let's listen to this.
Fictitious show? Or is this more closer to like a documentary? Is it that bad?
So I heard a former president that we had in the 90s was asked the question about this. And he gave an answer that I thought was so true. And he said, the only thing that's not accurate in that show is that you could never get a piece of legislation about education passed that quickly.
And everything else is good?
Aside from that, I mean, the sexual perversion that goes on in Washington, I mean, being kind of a young guy in Washington, with the average age is probably 60 or 70, and I look at all these people, a lot of them that I've looked up to through my life, I've always paid attention to politics, guys that, then all of a sudden you get...
Dude, can I just say, why would you say this publicly? Who unironically cares? I mean, I guess to a degree, calling out hypocrisy when it comes to the drug war and, this how sexually promiscuous they are, it's kind of based. But man, why would he shoot himself in the foot like this?
Invited to, well, hey, we're going to have kind of a sexual get-together at one of our homes. You should come. And I'm like, what did you just ask me to come to? Yeah. And then you realize they're asking you to come to an orgy. or the fact that there's some of the people that are leading on the movement to try and remove addiction in our country, and then you watch them do a key bump of cocaine right in front of you.
Based.
This is wild. And then there's also kind of the whole espionage aspect of what goes on.
Okay, so the sexual orgies and the keep up of cocaine. So here's my position on it. I don't care if politicians have orgies, and I'll be even more blunt. I don't care if politicians do cocaine or acid or mushrooms or anything. That's their business. Now, if it starts affecting their work, then I start to care. People's personal lives and personal, promiscuities are not an issue to me. As long as everyone involved are consenting adults. Matt Gaetz. As long as everybody's consenting adults, I don't care. Matt Gaetz. That was very subtle. I will say, to a small degree I care, and the little bit I do care about is specifically about the hypocrisy. It's like when we find out about an anti-gay politician having intercourse with a man in a bathroom or in their home or in a hotel room. What I care about there isn't the fact that they had intercourse with a man. What I care about is the hypocrisy and that they're passing legislation that is contrary to how they live their own life. The same thing is true when it comes to drugs. If they're trying to fight the drug war and doing key bumps of cocaine, that's bad. If they're not and they're against the drug war, then I don't care. Same thing when it comes to orgies. Somebody's personal sexual life is of nobody's business. I don't care if they get pegged. I don't care if they have sex with men. I don't care if they have sex with women. I don't care if they have sex with non-binary people. I don't care if they go to orgies. I don't care. I hope they practice sexual safety so everybody's like, okay, but I don't care. It's not my business. I don't care what these politicians do in their free time. I don't. I only care when there's hypocrisy. And if he's talking about certain Republicans, the odds are when it comes to the sexual promiscuity and family values, and when it comes to these key bumps of cocaine, when it comes to the drug war, that's where I'm interested. That's where I'm interested when it comes to this story. My first thought upon hearing this was someone needs to alert the Grand Falcon himself, yada yada. Okay, so the article keeps going, right? But that's not where the story ends. Apparently, it was a bridge too far. Kevin McCarthy, the House Minority Leader, actually had to have a sit-down talk with Madison Cawthorn for 30 minutes. They must have done a lot of cocaine and really had fun in there, huh? For 30 minutes, explaining to him that you do not say that. Like a real red line in the sand. In fact, it was so powerful, the meeting was, that Madison Cawthorn ended up coming out saying, I lied and I'm sorry. And honestly, I can believe that Madison Cawthorn lied about something. I don't really think he's sorry, but I can believe he lied about something. But now I believe it more than ever. You know? Now before I was skeptical of it, now I kind of believe it. You know what I mean? Now that he's denying it and walking it back and just saying, hey guys, I lied, oops. Now I'm like, Do I really trust him that little? That all it takes, now that he's flipped, I'm like, actually, never mind. I think you are doing all this coke. I think he's doing coke off of the backsides of their male lovers. But let's read this. I'm very disappointed. Kevin McCarthy had a meeting with Madison Cawthorn over his orgy and cocaine claims. There's really one question these days for North Representative Madison Cawthorn. Who? That's the only question. That's what I'm interested in, too. As in, who are the people that allegedly invited the Republican congressman to orgies in Washington? And who are the people who allegedly witnessed doing cocaine? I want to know who these people are. And if they're, sex positive and they're against the drug war, I need to know because I want to donate to their campaign. Cawthorn's allegations resulted in House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy and House Minority Whip Steve Scalise calling him into a meeting on Wednesday. I'm very disappointed. I told him he's lost my trust, McCarthy said after the meeting, according to CNN's Melania. I mean, it is a pretty terrible move to tell everybody that McCarthy was doing cocaine off of the backsides of sex workers. I will say that would make me lose their trust in a person too. He's lost my trust. He's gonna have to earn it back. I love how this is said too, because it does sound like he's saying like, why would he tell everybody that I do coke? That's how it comes off as, you know? That's what I'm reading this as. McCarthy also said that when pressed, Cawthorn basically admitted he either exaggerated or made up the allegations. He did not tell the truth. That's unacceptable, said McCarthy. But he won't be penalized, of course. Cawthorn still has not commented on the remarks he made in an interview with the Warrior Poet Society podcast recently. I've asked all Cawthorn's comments for it twice, but they haven't gotten back either time. In case you missed what Cawthorn said, here it is. We already read it. Which is a very big allegation to make without naming any names. And that's not just my opinion either. Here's North Carolina Representative Senator Thomas Tills on Cawthorn's claim. I thought about the statement. If true, then he's got a lot of information to reveal. If it's not true, then he's guilty of being untruthful. And here's North Carolina's other Republican senator, Richard Burr. You know what I'm going to do now? See, I don't do cocaine, right? I say before a huge scandal erupts of me doing cocaine. But if there's any time I've wanted to do cocaine more, it is now, if I ever get elected to Congress, in front of Madison Cawthorn. I now want to microdose cocaine only around Madison Cawthorn just to mess with him, knowing that if he comes forward again to try to reveal this information, no one will believe him. Like, it's just me and him in the elevator. I'm like, hey, Madison, watch this. And he's just looking at me like, whoa, what you did? It's like, yeah, that's coke, buddy. Whoa. Whoa, pixie dust, baby. Whoa. And then he gets out. He tries to tell people. Everyone's like, oh, this thing again. Boy who cried wolf situation. That's what it will be. So I promise if I get elected to Congress, I don't really promise this, but I promise this, that I will microdose cocaine specifically in front of Madison Cawthorn to play mind games against him until eventually he resigns from office. I'll be going to meetings like Ric Flair, like, woo, baby, I'm ready to talk about the fishing industry. Let's do it. Microdosing. When asked about Cawthorn's job performance, that's for his constituents to figure out, but he's been an embarrassment at time. Ooh, Richard Burr, Republican senator, calling him an embarrassment. My God. Burr and Tills were far from alone in expressing concerns. Zania noted that the House Republicans complained about Cawthorn's remark during a closed-door session on Tuesday. GOP lawmakers said his comments were upsetting and harmful and complained they were now receiving questions from constituents about it. They also said if his comments are true, then he needs to name names because otherwise it unfairly maligns the entire institution. True! True! If you start saying that people are engaged in these said activities, then people are going to start guessing and pointing. Like, if you're going to do it, you might as well name people, right? Honestly, I don't think you should unless they're engaged in hypocrisy because that's their private business, unless it's affecting their work. But if it is a level of hypocrisy, which it sounds like he was talking about Republicans, but we don't know for sure, then I would want him to bring that up. And again, there is a possibility that he was telling the truth, and now he's just being made to walk it back by Madison Cawthorn. Who knows? Hey, Dylan, looking forward to you going to Poland. Good luck, and say hi to Geek for me. I will be sure to. My goodness. Also, I gotta say, I do imagine this annoying a lot of Republican Congress people who are gonna get calls from QAnon psychos saying like, I knew it. The evidence continues to stack. The evidence continues to stack against the deep state. But I gotta be honest, like, I always assumed a certain amount of politicians were doing coke and having orgies. I mean, it's like, there's a reason why we keep having scandals about politicians like going out and, you know, engaging in that type of behavior. Because it's happened. There's been high profile scandals like that. There has to be one. There has to be one person up there doing coke. GOP lawmaker said his comments were upsetting and harmful and complained they were now receiving... Okay. All of which means that the ball is now very clearly in Cawthorn's court. He is firmly in put up or shut up territory. So does he have the receipts, or will he be forcibly publicly to admit the whole thing was made up? Perhaps to impress a podcast host and his audience. That Cawthorn finds himself embroiled in a controversy is nothing new. To recap, Cawthorn was charged earlier this month for driving with a revoked driver's license for the second time in 5 years. He was recently recorded on video calling Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky a thug and the Ukrainian government incredibly evil. It was basically the corruption line, which I'm going to be honest, guys, and I thought about making a video about this, but it feels so self-evident that I don't want to even make a whole video about it. I might in the future. Yes, the Ukrainian government's corrupt, but corruption in Eastern Europe post-collapse of the Soviet Union is not newsworthy. And Putin is not invading to deal with a corruption issue. It is not like Putin, leading a very corrupt mafia state, is going to invade Ukraine and then make it less corrupt. And last year, CNN reported on allegations of sexual misconduct women made against Cawthorn stemming from his time in college. Cawthorn has denied any wrongdoing, and he's been in Congress for less than 2 years. My gosh. And I gotta say this, he also said he was planning another January 6th, but I never see people bring that up anymore, so I always like to bring it up when I can. Anyway, what an insane story.